Good evening. Here to you tonight to talk to a colleague who I met only last week, but we seem to have a good connection. And I'd like to introduce to you Natan Verkovsky, who does some fascinating work with the psychological side of how you build your approach to others around you. And I'm sure he can explain that better than I can. So, without further ado, please let me introduce Natan Verkovsky.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that, Ed. I really appreciate that. That's very kind and nice. And we did meet recently, but felt like kindred spirits right away. A little bit of background. I've been licensed as a medical hypnotherapist since 1997, and I've been working both on my own personal as an elite athlete. I was ranked number one in Alberta provincially for power tumbling and gymnastics since I was 16. I've been involved in martial arts for goodness well more than half my life, probably around 25, maybe 30 years by now and such, over half a dozen disciplines, and have combined a lot of the mental training secrets, some of the peak performance motivations and such into different programs, working with elite athletes, working with business top performers and executives, and personal health and wellness gurus. And in the last 25, 30 years, the focus has always been on taking people that normally would be looked at as extraordinarily competent in what they do and elevating their game and bringing them to that next level, either in personal health or in sport or in business.
Great, fantastic. And how do you come across your clients normally? What do you look for? What's your first sort of this person actually could use my help? What's your first instincts on that?
It's luckily with a background as a therapist, even though I focus and specialize on either, peak performers in business or peak performers in sports or people that are really, really hyper focused on their health, I still have that generic background where I can talk to anybody about anything and try to help. I've also been happily married for 25 years, so I'm not a marriage counselor in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, if you're having something that's an issue and you're in your, year seventh of your marriage, chances are you and I might be able to share a couple of views and such. There's a common humanity, and that lowest common denominator that we're all still just people. If there's one race, it's the human race, like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think when I posted about 3 weeks ago, one of my first posts, you were very kind to help me because I have zero history on social media at all recently,
Mm,
until recently, and I don't know why, but it just piqued my interest, your engagement, and I think it's one of the reasons why we're sat here tonight. And I think it's fascinating that people can make a link there. And, we're both martial artists.
mm.
Would you like to tell people a bit about your martial arts and how you think it helps you to engage with people?
Absolutely. And just to speak for a second about what you'd said, the way that we connected, there's there's a lot of common knowledge, and it just sounds very generic and very bland. And because of that, people go, yeah, 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 I already know that, yeah, yeah, but they don't do it. And
Yes.
some of that, when it comes to, are you looking for relationships? Are you looking? Well, then you need engagement. And if you're looking for engagement, if you want a friend, you need to be a friend.
Mm,
So why on earth are you not going out, finding somebody you like, finding something that they said or wrote or published that you agree with, that resonates with you? And then from there, just commenting. If nothing else, just a thumbs up. But if you have it within you, go a little bit further and comment and say that was awesome. And if you're there at that point, why not look at yourself and say, you know what? That was awesome because I was at a place where I wasn't thinking any of these things. And this video helped change it around for me. Thanks for saying what you said. That's huge for each of us that spends the time and the effort and all of that, potential money that we could be doing somewhere else, working for someone else, working with some other capacity in some other way. We're doing this and we're giving it away. And
yes.
it's the best of us. And it's so nice when it resonates with someone. And so when I saw your work, I wanted to reach out. We weren't connected. We're not on the same team. We don't work with the same people. We don't know each other in that way. But it didn't mean that two people, two humans, I'm in Canada, you're in the UK, couldn't reach out to each other.
Yeah, and that's what came across really, and it's difficult sometimes to understand why some of these things do stick out. But people's ability to engage with another individual really can be the game changer to how they engage
Yeah,
from a healthcare perspective. From my perspective, when they come into the surgery, if they are willing to engage with the process, it can become much greater than the sum of its parts. And I think we spoke briefly before, and it developed into this really nice conversation. A couple of technical issues, my issue on that front, apologies. But you said something really important about how you can supercharge people's mental attitude to go
mm,
way beyond the expectations, and I think that's what
mm.
people need. They need hope that whatever limitations they put on the life can be
Very much so.
surpassed.
You know what a lot of that could be, Ed, and a lot of people just don't acknowledge how simple it is. They're convinced it's a huge, complicated answer with many moving parts and just a mass complexity. At the end of the day, if you're looking at doing something and you're doing it right and you're doing it well and you have the confidence and skill and you've been doing it for a while, it resonates
Mm.
and it comes across. There's a calm and ease, a speak. You and I spoke of it, and it was a great segue into the martial arts and stuff. I've been doing martial arts for 25, 30 years. I started when I was about 7 or 8 in Hapkido, the Korean joint lock and pressure point techniques, which is extraordinarily defensive. And then I went to Taekwondo, which is considerably more offensive. And then just when I thought everything was going right, I went into Muay Thai. And in Thai boxing, when you jump up in the air and do one of those really pretty Van Damme spinning scissor kicks, and you come like that close to hitting the guy in the nose, but you don't actually hit the guy in the nose.
Mm.
When you land and you go, ha ha, you know what happens then? The guy kicks you really, really hard in the leg and you fall down and you don't get up for like 3 days. That's what happens on day one. And so after a couple years there and understanding that, I did I did a little bit of Russian Systema, where I was lucky enough that one of the actual guys that was in there in a military combatant way, that trained in it, did it, exercised it, practiced it in real life in a way that none of us would hopefully ever want to. He was the one who trained me. And one of the most amazing things is that in the week I'm training at another place that was combining a bunch of different martial arts and then MMA fashions. And I'm training there, and obviously you're paying for it. You're a student, and my instructor does a spinning heel hurricane kick, hits me right in the solar plexus. I go flying, hit the end of the rope, fall down, and he runs over, goes, sorry, 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 you okay, okay, oh my god, you okay? And it's he's human and he's genuine and he wanted to make sure he didn't hurt me.
Of course.
But when I understood it the other way, because next week now I'm training with my Russian, Sputnik, Spy, Systema master coach guy who's like at least an eighth degree black belt in craziness. And for him, he does that same spinning, the hurricane kick. I go flying. This time not in the ring. I'm in my basement where he was, as he says, he's never training me. He's showing me a few things, which is brilliant. And a great excuse to just destroy me. So I go flying, I hit the wall, I fall down. And as I'm down on the ground and I'm looking up, a part of me is going, I'm waiting for him to say sorry or are you okay? And I look up and he looks down at me and says, ready?
Yeah, that's a really good story. Actually, I think
And that's,
when you're dealing with people who are in pain, it's a similar reaction in the clinic when people expect you to hold the hand, but in some respects, you have to close your mind to that.
yeah,
For some people,
yeah.
fine, because if you're too nice,
Yes.
then you don't push them to the dark side where they need to cross this pain
There's a
threshold.
power in that dark side. Like the Star Wars movies with there's power in the dark. They were right. There's a whole bunch of power over there. Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
if you have the strength to go over there, grab what you need, bring it over, do the work that you need to do, and then get rid of it and dump it like garbage and not have that taint you, that's incredible.
Well, this is
you
it, isn't
know.
it? It's having that capacity to go to these dark places. And the dark side, I don't know where that just came from. I'm not really a Star Wars sort of fan, but
It's okay.
it works, doesn't it? So there you go. These things happen, for a reason.
If
It's
you're like, I remember years ago reading about this medical study where this guy was helping people with visualization that had cancer, and he was helping them visualize little shark cells that went around and ate the little cancer cells.
yes,
And I'm like, when people read stories like that, they're thinking, oh, bubblegum and lollipops, that's really cute and adorable. And I'm just going to picture a shark. I'm like, no, I want you to think that you're dying. I want you to think that everyone has told you that you are like, make your make your peace with God, make your peace with the world, write your last will and testament. We're looking at somewhere between this many days and this many weeks, and God bless you if it's this many months. And in that time, there is one and only one way out. The obvious door is humongous and it's huge and it's death. But there's a teeny, teeny little like crawl space that you might be able to jimmy yourself into. And it'll literally save your life.
yes,
But because there's only one way into that crawl space, you have to, like, it won't bend to you. You have to bend to it.
yes, yeah,
And the best way to do that is to come from a place that usually isn't lollipop and gumdrops. It's usually a considerably darker place. It's just a source of power that needs to be utilized and not neglected in that way.
absolutely.
It,
And that is what you're there to do. You're there to help them to potentially go to some of these dark places to help get through and out the other side with guidance into a better place. And a lot of people are just not willing to go there. They outrule it, and same in the martial arts as well. I did a fair
mm-hmm,
amount of Tenzin Ryu Jiu-Jitsu, which is similar to the Sistema really, and it's sort of bodyguarding style, and it's really hardcore. You end up mentally, you have to live in a particularly dark place. Now, that was a bit of a turn off to me, but I can see
mm-hmm,
why the ability to go to these places really helps you in the healthcare side because you're willing to hopefully explore and have the capacity tactically to come back as well. And that's, I think, what the martial arts gives you is that capacity
mm-hmm.
to do this in a relatively controlled and trained way, train hard, fight easy, that sort of thing, really, so that you can guide other people. I think we said before that your ability then to change your mindset is what you specialize in. Is that right?
It is, and it's one of the neat things that in my martial art background, the most after I'd say somewhere I'm in my mid 40s now, and somewhere in my mid 20s is when I kind of took a pause after about 20 years or so from my classical martial arts, and I went over and now I picked it back up. I was active during that time, trained my wife, my daughter, my brother, pretty much the whole family, and kept active myself. But it didn't feel the same. It felt more of like health and movement and coordination, a little bit of flexibility. Not the same. Not the same.
Yes.
And I recently, a couple of years ago, started a new art, a mokoyobi, musu shinden ryu iaido, which is a fancy way of saying the Japanese art of drawing the sword. And when I started it, it was completely different than anything I'd ever done before. Both because it's a moving meditation, both because of its calm slowness, that it's a kata based martial art. There's
Mm-hmm.
not any combativeness. And that there's a couple subtleties that at first I didn't notice. One of which is that it's defensive. I'm pulling out a sword and killing somebody and then putting the sword away. It doesn't sound like it would be defensive. And yet, if you know that you and I, and you're in an army A and I'm in army B, and we're supposed to go fight on the battlefield tomorrow, but tonight we're in the tavern and we're supposed to be cool, man. You're supposed to have a drink over there. I'm supposed to have a drink over here. But in the modern day equivalent, if I reach into my holster and I just cock my gun, that's a pretty aggressive move.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't think of that in any way, shape, or form other than you're about to shoot me. And in that day, that was the equivalent of you just going, like that with your sword, and just moving it a
Knocking
tick.
a blade ready to draw. Yes.
Because when it's stuck in, so that you can pull your sword like this and it's not going to fall out. That's when it's properly in its sheath, its saya.
Yes.
So when it's here, you need to, with your thumb, unlock it. You
Yes.
need to cock your gun. And when I'm sitting here defensively having some sake, just do, and I see you do that over there, I have no choice. I have to draw. I have to defend myself.
Yeah, it's a fascinating parallel there, really, to how you look beyond the screen in front of you. You know, you look into the whites of the eyes of the person who you're talking with, and
Mm,
that's most important, I think. I see that on people who perhaps they've been to see everyone else. They've had
mm.
every experience thrown at them from people who
Yes.
know, and they come to you because they've heard that you're willing to go that extra mile, or you're willing to look into the heart. And
And
so,
into the dark places, and I'm willing to hold their hand and shine a light and bring them into those places. I've
absolutely,
worked I've worked with people with throat cancer. I've worked with people that had giant cysts on their elbows, thought they had to get surgery, and there was no way around it.
yes,
I've worked with paraplegics. So I've worked with these extreme cases, and
yes,
we've done such an incredible. And we obviously don't have time today to delve into it, but maybe another fireside chat on another Friday. We'll jump in and we'll do another one of those. But there's, after a couple of decades of doing this, obviously I have a few stories, right? So
yeah. Well, it'd be really good to
eh,
maybe do a couple of case studies and with you and break that down into a series of maybe practical steps that you can
absolutely.
broadcast to people. And
When we,
yeah,
oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
in that connection that you make with people. Because I think that is how we've spoken about the battle or the conflict. That's how you avoid the
Mm.
conflict at the end of the day,
Yes.
and potentially avoid
Yes.
any unnecessary, whether it's verbal um, sort of confrontations, by having this eye to eye, whites of the eye connection with your heart, with the individual.
Mhm.
And if you can impart that to people, then
Very much
it's
so.
an
Very
incredibly
much so.
powerful weapon to have at your
Yes.
disposal. This is what you do, isn't it? And this is why I'm really keen to have this synergy, because if you can show people how to vocalize this and
Mm.
how to show that they're ready to make that change, then whoever they meet, they can put that into practice. And hopefully,
Mhm.
if they come and see a practitioner, whoever it is, they can impart that information. And that's why I'm keen to see this alliance of the two. Um,
Very much so.
so how can people follow up on this for you, Nathan? How can they find you and get more out of this than I can maybe draw out of you in 20 minutes? Where do they
What
find
I would what I would say is it would really depend on how wet you want to get. I guess. Do you want to just dip your toe in the water? You can go to my Facebook page, my first and last name, Natan Verkovsky. You can find me there, and you can see vlogs that I've done. There's 10 vlogs in 10 days. So there was a challenge there, which really talks about a lot of the experience, some of the skills. In 7, 8, 9, you'll actually get some of the exercises, the theory, the principles, some of the drills, the techniques. So you'll get into the meat of it. It's not fluff. There's no, um, I don't think I ever actually mentioned anything of any possible way that you could buy something or monetize something or get something. This is all free. This is all just advice and information
Wow.
and ways and things that I've hoped can help. If down the road there's going to be a webinar or workshop or some sort of a product, I'll put that out as a separate, hey, by the way, this is something we're offering. If you're interested, by all means. But
Absolutely.
when we do things like what you and I are doing today, this fireside chat, I'm not here promoting anything. I don't have a plug or a book to sell. I'm not going on tour. There's no new movie. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's the same thing for you, Ed, which is beautiful. And I really like that.
Yeah, really, it's just a casting in stone. If we
It
can
is.
make an
If
analogy
you
between, the internet and our ability to transpose this information
It
for
is very
generations.
much. If
Because
if you wanted more, you can always, like, the social media stuff, and we'll put links to the bottom of this so that if you're watching this chat, you'll be able to see underneath. There's ways to connect to each of us. There's ways to go on our websites and stuff to see some of the free extra things that we give out. We all have video series and such, so that you can really kind of, like I said, about how wet you want to get. If you dip your toe into it, watch a couple of vlogs, you'd be like, okay, I get a taste. If you wanted to get deeper, sign up on the personal-momentum.com, my website, and there you're going to get a 3-part video series for free, and it's personal mastery, and it'll show you about your activation levels, how to bring them up when you need, down when you need, and just neutralize and control them as you need. And we're not talking about it. We're not giving you some theory or written exercises or some cute philosophy. There's specific exercises, mental, physical, and emotional drills, techniques, and exercises that take less than a couple minutes that you can do immediately anywhere at any time to change your activation level.
absolutely, and I think that's the key here, because people are going to want to engage with that information. So our objective
That's available to everybody. There's no cost to that. Everybody can get that, and you can sign up. We do Wednesdays where we'll do a new story and a drill. Fridays are fireside chats, like Ed and I are having today, and we're able to talk to thought leaders around the world and people that are personal health and wellness gurus, like Ed, from around the world, top business performers and different elite athletes, coaches, all of the different people that would really want to give you a little taste of what they had inside. And they've got such an incredible story. So that's the real beauty and the effort that we can come out with. In the next little while, I'd say the next week or so, depending on how we date this, there's going to be a webinar coming out. On my side, it's the personal momentum movement that I've created. We've put it up to one of the products, and it's effortless mastery, getting to 10 out of 10. And it's not for the people, and it's no offense at all. It's just an acknowledgement of your skill. If you've never done, badminton, you might not want to start pro. You might want to start at the beginning and learn some badminton skills. So this is for more of the intermediate to advanced level, and it's effortless mastery. It's a 6-part video series, and it's going to go into specific detail on how to control your intention, how to control your intensity, how to influence positively your productivity.
great. Well, this is the next stage. Perhaps we must get together again.
Absolutely, I can't wait.
Break this down. So let's definitely keep in touch, and I'll pass on any information that comes my way for you as well. And let's
Thank
let
you, Ed.
information out there into the community, because, gosh, there are so many people who need this capability to speak and be heard, and to be able to show their heart, which is
Yes,
um,
yes,
the greatest ability of anyone to be humble and present their issues and fix their issues as well, from
yes,
my perspective. So
very much.
thank you very much. Really nice to see you today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything.